waiting for Livio. Let me pin him. Hey, David. Here is Livio. Livio, you are muted if you're speaking to us.
Oh, I was just telling you that I just restarted the instance. Wondering whether we are live yet. Oh, so now you're muted, Max.
Yeah, we're live, so let's go over the progress.
Do you want to start with the 8760, or should I start with the stir shaken?
Yeah, go with stir shaken, I guess. Most interesting.
Let me share this window. It pretty much summarizes what happened today. Also, let me know if among the to-dos, if any of them were missed by me and you got some more testing in. But pretty much I guess everybody found a little bit of something to improve on, or maybe tweak, or live patch. There were, at least in our case, for OpenSIPs, Alfred got a pretty big one regarding malicious certificate URLs. So now it's not a question whether the URL points to the local environment, right? Maybe somewhere on the file system, and then the library will download infinite data, thus blocking the whole system. So we patched that, but now it's an actual bad file. It's as simple as that. It's a 10 gigabyte file, and yeah, we didn't see that one coming either. So Chris helped me out a bit, and there's definitely a way that you could get a sense of your download progress while you're using libcurl, so you cannot maybe stop it after you see
it
still
should be
growing.
reasonable. Yeah, probably some limits should be set. So.
Yeah, I mean, if it goes past something like a few thousand kilobytes, okay, stop that download. It's something's not okay there. So
yeah, this is one of the things that we tried to bring up earlier in the year, and
yeah,
that is how do you know? So that's why we're looking at, or if we're not now, we're going to be looking at the first line to make sure that it's the license plate for a certificate file, and yeah, not let it go any longer than any valid certificate file could be.
Yeah,
Yeah,
another way, I
system.
guess, to mitigate it might be some kind of control over allowed URIs or something. So essentially, if you're sending, if you're peering with some particular vendor, you probably know your.
No, you can't really do that though, because the vendor may be forwarding that from some other provider. So you'd have to basically have the world in your whitelist file.
Yeah, I guess browsers don't have this problem because it's pretty much built in, right? Also, chain of trust is pretty much provided in the local machine. Anyway, yeah, okay.
The CA store, I mean, the valid certs are distributed, right? That's one of the issues we've got with this particular arrangement is that pretty much, yeah, well.
I guess the sharing of certificates happens in the TLS connection itself, right? So
No.
no, or
well, so
because
yeah, for the TLS, if you were doing SIPS, then yeah, but since we're doing our own verify, it doesn't.
Yeah, but maybe I don't. Maybe I have a wrong picture about how things work. But how I see it, when a browser talks to a site, it downloads the certificate when the TLS connection is set up, but it verifies it using whatever trust chain is already present on the machine, right?
Yeah.
But here we are doing UDP, right? We are doing SIP over UDP, and the cert arrives via this magical link on which we download via web. So
and the link itself is controlled by whoever sends you.
So
request,
that's the problem. Or rather, how the browser solve it, because it's just TLS, and I'm pretty sure it's difficult to insert a 10 gigabyte random data on the TLS handshake or something like that.
Right.
The client will probably reject that kind of request immediately, the TLS implementation. Yeah, whereas here, we kind of have to solve it manually a bit, but it's still...
some safeguards should probably
exactly.
implement it. I mean, we know more or less reasonable size of chains, so you should probably have some... And also, I guess one way to do it is probably just to parse it again on as it arrives. I don't know if OpenSIPs or those libraries support something like that. So
yes,
as long
they do.
It stops looking like a certificate. So if you're just reading like random bytes, it will probably figure out it's a crap pretty quickly.
That's a good point. But at the same time, what is a certificate, right? It is random bytes. Anyway, the key.
You feed it
I agree.
to the library. So right now you're trying to get it all in one big piece and then feed it to the library. So maybe the way to deal with it is feed it as it arrives, essentially. So the library has some way to say, "Oh, look, it's garbage, not a real thing."
Yeah, the other thing to do is while you're reading it with libcurl, don't give libcurl a huge buffer or let it determine the buffer size, right? Give it a small, reasonable buffer, and you can count the number of times your callback has been called, right? And just drop the connection if you reach your own imposed limit.
I'll actually try to prepare something for tomorrow. I'm not sure if I can fit in the time, but maybe I can do exactly what you guys recommended.
That would be cool.
see if we can get it fixed. Okay. Not sure if any more to be discussed here. I mean, pretty much the two biggest vulnerabilities we have so far with regards to these newly introduced certificate download URLs are make sure the URL is HTTPS, right? Don't download weird stuff like file colon / something on your local system, or don't download too big files. Maybe add some limitation into your application. We'll see tomorrow. Maybe Alfred comes up with even more intricate ways to break the. Yeah.
Oh, he will.
I mean, URLs are virtually infinite in terms of what they can semantically represent. So pretty sure that there are still bugs to be found.
Yeah, well, so there was another one that came up, and that is, is a URL that has query parameters valid?
I don't know.
Because that's partially an attack vector.
Yeah.
Right, because if somebody gives you a URL, even if it's we're just doing a get on it and it contains query parameters, that URL could actually take malicious action on some other site.
Oh, so you mean like what is this called? The reflection attack, or right, where you point to a site you want to be DDoSed, and then the service provider acts on your behalf. I think I've seen this with Redis or something like that. There was a vulnerability in the Redis protocol, and was it Redis? Anyway, yeah. Okay. So moving forward with what went on today, the full mesh testing went pretty good, as we got in pretty much all the combinations against each other. So both the teams who built the identity headers are here on the left side, AS, the authentication service, and they tested against the teams who had the verification service in place, and vice versa. And some of them are still pending because there were some issues, of course, but yeah, we're working on those. At least we know what's going on, and yeah, well, maybe we can do more tomorrow if some fixes come up, or otherwise, I don't know, maybe next edition, who knows. And also, as this was going on, I managed to fire up those tests I was telling you about in the presentation, with the tampering of the attestation from kind of a middling entity that manages to get hold of the SIP traffic. And not only does it sometimes change the attestation, or it can this is actually maybe not a malicious actor. Maybe it's a purely unintentional error, like a programmer error or software error, that causes some part of the identity header to be corrupt. So I tested against that as well as these are pretty interesting tests, the final ones, where either the URL points to a certificate which was not actually used to sign the message, or the provider just uses their self-signed certificates. They just came up with one on their own. So the question is, does the verification service verify the ownership of those certificates against a chain of trust that is installed on that system. So kind of everybody did pretty good here. Chris let me know that they actually have a kind of a small issue with the chain validation, so they disabled it for now. So that's why it failed, but they're actually working on it. So I would call a complete success all of this, given that even the issue that we found, it's a known issue, and it will probably it's getting fixed as we speak. So that's kind of the summary. What do you guys have to add to this? How did it go for you? How was your experience?
Well, so we found a crash, and that had to do with permissions on our side. It was kind of stupid, but I think we got a handle on that one. However, I think we are not handling algorithms correctly on incoming, or maybe this is the same issue. We are sending identity headers with the signature is too long, right? Isn't that what it was, Ben? Or
yeah, I believe that they're checking for a size of 64, and ours was a little bit too large. So we're looking into how that's being handled by OpenSSL, and if we need to trim that down or what's going on there.
Yeah, because we're also failing when we send to FreeSwitch. So not quite sure. And we're also failing on the incoming side. So possibly for the same reason.
Oh, so it failed against FreeSwitch as well on the incoming? Did you test this one?
Yes.
Okay. I will remove the note as I don't know the reply.
So yeah, Ben and I have to do a little huddle right after this and figure out what's going on.
Okay.
All right, great job, Livio and everyone.
Yeah, that was great. It was a solid session.
All right. Any other comments or questions or any remarks on Stir Shaken? Okay, then.
If not, I would like to add a bit. Remember, I said that we would test with the expired certificates and all of that. In my case, we cannot build the identity with that. Even the build function rejects the certificate from the get-go. So I couldn't send any of that type of traffic to your verification servers. That's why I didn't add those in here. So I guess if you can maybe just make use of those certificates and test it on your own, or make sure you're handling it in the way that you see best. Because as I was saying in the opening, maybe rejecting or it's not ideal for your service to stop working the second the certificate expires. Maybe things like this happen, and maybe for a few hours or so, it would be more than okay to keep pushing forward traffic, or sign it even if it's expired. So, kind of a preference there. Okay, so that was my small addendum.
All right. Well, nice. As I said, nice update. Thanks, Livio, and everyone who participated. In the background, we did a little bit of dev work on OpenSIP's and basically we added a few more. There was a set mistake yesterday with the configuration of RFC'02, which basically makes those yellow results that I put in yellow invalid. Those needs to be retested. So if George or Ben, if you guys can go over it, that would be nice and fill in. And we also added few more testing options, and basically this is to test how well UACA will handle situation when UAS offers both curb aus and aus int, but aus int goes first. So basically in the SIP message it will first offer aus int and then aus. There was needed some changes on OpenSIP side to make it possible. So yeah, it would be interesting if asterisk free switch and SIPVicious do a little bit of testing on those in either tomorrow or after we finish. The ports are in the chat.
I have a quick question here. When the server sends you back this comma-separated list, does it mean that it actually prefers the leftmost one, or?
Well, I need to check what RFC says, but
Yeah.
logically yes, it's kind of at least it kind of makes sense, right? If you want to support both, but you for some reason prefer full authentication, there should be a way to do it, right?
Yeah.
And this seems to be like a pretty logical way. So
Yep.
yeah, I'll check what RFC says, but at least it's it gives operator some control.
Some
right?
control. Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, that's a little update. I also fixed aus int in my own stack. There was a mistake on how hash value was calculated, and that's a great outcome of this. Okay, well, I guess that's everything then, unless somebody has any other updates or any other matters. Guess not. Thanks
good.
everyone. Yeah.
We're off to tomorrow's hammering.
Yeah, Alfred and Sandra will have a go at you guys.
That's an extra special session on the itinerary for tomorrow, isn't it?
Yeah. We also wanted to look into Java web tokens. Maybe we'll do like something on the site, not necessarily involving everyone, but between those who are interested, would be nice to figure out what we can test. Okay, I guess with that we can probably say thank you to everyone and have a rest.